47 people watched my wife's family turn their backs on me at the same time. My brother-in-law stepped forward, pointed directly at my face, and said it loud enough for every single person in that yard to hear. "You have two options: apologize or leave." My wife stood right beside him and said absolutely nothing. I had driven 6 hours to that reunion. I had paid for the cabin, 3 months of planning, every detail, all of it gone in one sentence. And the reason it happened. I told the truth about his business. I had the bank statements, I had the receipts, I had numbers that could not be argued with. He did not want the numbers. He wanted silence. Lauren wanted to give it to him, standing there with 47 pairs of eyes on me. Something inside me snapped, not from shame, from clarity. I had been apologizing for being right my entire marriage. I drove straight to the airport. If this story is already hitting you, subscribe. Right now, because what comes next will dismantle everything they built. Drop a comment. What would you have done in that backyard? My name is Nathan Cole, 41 years old, commercial real estate consultant, 9 years married to Lauren Callahan Cole. Our house in Scottsdale, bought entirely with my money before the marriage. Her brother Derek ran a construction firm. 2 years earlier, he had brought me an investment opportunity. I put in $230,000. 11 months later, the numbers stopped making sense. Every question I asked, Derek deflected. I carried those bank statements to that reunion, specifically to show Lauren in private. Derek overheard us in the hallway. He escalated before I could explain a single word. By the time that backyard confrontation erupted, I was already holding the proof that would eventually destroy him. Gate 14, plastic chair, departure board blurring in front of me. Lauren's name lit my phone 4 times. I declined every call with the same flat press of my thumb. I was not running. I was making a decision with the same precision I applied to every major transaction in my professional life. That reunion was not a misunderstanding. It was a verdict. Lauren's family had decided who I was. Lauren stood beside their decision. The flight to Chicago boarded at 9:47 p.m. I had a contact there, Marcus Webb, a commercial developer, 6 years of history between us. 3 months earlier over lunch he had offered me a guest apartment if I ever needed it. I had thanked him and filed the offer away. I retrieved it at the gate. His text response came back in 4 minutes. "Doors open, brother. Come whenever." I boarded with one carry-on, my laptop and the leather folder containing every financial document tied to Derek Callahan's firm. I had not packed that folder randomly. Derek had just made the worst mistake of his life in that backyard, and he had no idea I was already holding the evidence. My phone went off completely, somewhere over New Mexico. Marcus Webb's penthouse overlooked Lake Michigan. He poured black coffee, slid it across the kitchen island, and said 3 words. "Tell me everything." I talked for 2 straight hours. When I finished, he looked at the ceiling for a long moment. Then, "Derek's been moving your investment money." Not a question, a statement. I spread the bank statements across his island. Marcus had 28 years in commercial real estate financing. He identified the pattern in 40 minutes. Derek had been using the joint investment account as a personal revolving credit line for his firm's cash flow. Payments appeared, disappeared, reappeared under different routing numbers. The original principal had cycled through at least 3 shell entities. Marcus tapped one specific transaction from 14 months earlier. This went to Ridgeline Holdings, LLC. He looked up. I know that name. 2 phone calls, 20 minutes. Confirmed, Ridgeline Holdings, LLC. Registered in Delaware. Sole managing member, Derek Callahan. He had been redirecting my investment into his own company while telling me the fund was underperforming. $230,000. Not lost to bad business. Systematically stolen. Lauren called 47 times in 3 days. I know the exact number because I counted every notification when the phone finally came back on. 9 voicemails. The first 4 were anger. I was dramatic. I had humiliated Derek in front of his children. I needed to come home and fix what I had broken. The 5th voicemail was quieter, worried. The 6th was 17 seconds long. She said my name once and hung up. I listened to all 9 in sequence. Then I set the phone face down and went to work. Marcus connected me with Patricia Elms, formerly 12 years with the SEC, now private forensic accounting. Patricia reviewed everything in 2 days, 31 pages. The report used the word fraud exactly 6 times. Total redirected funds, including compounded returns, $312,000. Clear indicators of intentional concealment. She recommended a securities litigation attorney immediately. I called one that afternoon. James Okafor, 44, former federal fraud prosecutor, now plaintiff representation. He reviewed Patricia's report overnight, called me at 7:15 a.m. 4 words, we have a case. What happened next is what Derek never saw coming. 3 weeks after I left Scottsdale, Lauren appeared in the lobby of Marcus's building without warning. Gray coat I had bought her 2 Christmases ago. She had not slept. She looked at me and said, "Come home." I said, "No." She had not prepared for that word. In 9 years, I'd always eventually come home. I asked her to sit. I walked her through every document, every transaction, every LLC, every redirected transfer. I did not raise my voice once. When I finished, she said, "Derek wouldn't do that." I opened my phone, showed her Patricia's report, showed her the Ridgeline Holdings registration, Derek's name, his signature, his company. She stared at it for a long time without speaking. Then she said the sentence that ended our marriage. "Even if this is true, you still humiliated him at the reunion." I stood up. I told her my attorney would be in touch. I took the elevator upstairs alone. She chose his comfort over my honesty after looking directly at the proof. There was nothing left to save. James filed the civil lawsuit on a Tuesday in early November. 48 pages, fraudulent misrepresentation, breach of fiduciary duty, conversion of funds, intentional concealment. He also forwarded Patricia's forensic report to the Arizona Attorney General with a formal complaint requesting criminal investigation. Derek found out on Wednesday. His attorney called James that afternoon with a settlement offer. $80,000. James called me laughing. $80,000 on 312. I told him to decline. Second offer, 3 days later, $140,000. Declined again. Within 2 weeks, the Arizona AG had opened a formal criminal investigation into Ridgeline Holdings. Detective Sandra Ruiz contacted me directly. She was precise, professional, and very interested in the routing numbers. Derek hired a criminal defense attorney the same week. Lauren called twice during this period. First call, dropped the lawsuit for the sake of her family. Second call, her mother wasn't sleeping. I told her I was sorry about her mother. Then I reminded her that the Callahan family had watched me pay for everything, fix everything, attend everything, carry everything, for 9 years. When I told the truth once, they threw me out of the yard. I was done. The Callahan family held an emergency meeting at Robert and June's house in late November. Lauren texted me afterward. Derek had confessed. His version, softened and rearranged, but enough. He admitted the investment money had been temporarily used for firm cash flow. Called it a business decision under pressure. Said he had always planned to pay it back. Said I had overreacted. Robert Callahan had been in construction his entire life. He understood exactly what his son had done the moment it was explained. Lauren's text said her father had not spoken to Derek since that meeting. Her mother cried for 3 hours. Cassidy, Lauren's younger sister, texted me that same night. "I'm so sorry, I didn't know." I did not respond to anyone except James. Because James had news, Detective Ruiz had subpoenaed Derek's full business banking records. Inside those records, she found two more investors. Both had accepted private settlements and signed NDAs 18 months earlier. Derek had done this before. I was not his first target. That discovery changed the weight of the criminal case entirely. The DA's office stepped in. Detective Ruiz's formal case notes contained a phrase that would follow Derek Callahan for the rest of his professional life. Pattern of conduct. Thursday morning, December, 8:20 a.m. Detective Ruiz and two officers walked into Derek's construction office on Oracle Road in Tucson. They arrested him in front of 4 employees and his office manager. Wire fraud, theft by conversion, securities fraud. Bail set at $200,000. His family paid it within 24 hours. Lauren called me the moment she heard. Not angry this time. Crying so hard I could barely make out her words. She kept saying she was sorry. She kept saying she should have listened to me in that backyard. I let her say everything she needed to say. When she finished, I told her I believed she hadn't known. Then I told her I was still filing for divorce. The silence that followed was the longest I have ever experienced on a phone call. "Please don't," she said. I told her I was sorry. Not sorry in the way she wanted. Sorry that 9 years of real love had been shattered by one moment where she chose comfort over truth. I could not rebuild a marriage on that foundation. The divorce petition had already been filed in Maricopa County. The Scottsdale house, purchased entirely with premarital funds, was listed as separate property. Lauren's attorney did not contest it. The civil judgment came down in February. $312,000 in compensatory damages. $41,000 in legal fees. Derek's attorney had attempted 3 separate delays. The judge had rejected every one. The 2 additional investors Detective Ruiz had found joined as plaintiffs. Their combined claims added another $160,000 to the total judgment. Derek's construction firm did not survive. Chapter 11. Bankruptcy filed in March. 20 years of building. Gone within 6 months of that backyard confrontation. His personal assets offered no protection, because the fraud had been conducted through a separately registered LLC. The criminal case closed in June with a plea agreement. 1 count of wire fraud, 1 count of securities fraud, 36 months supervised probation, permanent ban from managing investment accounts, 200 hours community service, full restitution order. No prison time. James told me the plea was fair for a first conviction with full restitution compliance. I accepted that. Derek had already lost the things that mattered more than a prison sentence: his business, his industry reputation, and his own father. Robert Callahan did not attend the plea hearing. He had not spoken to Derek since November. I sold the Scottsdale house in April, $218,000 above original purchase price. That money, combined with the civil recovery, gave me more financial stability than I had ever had in the marriage. I stayed in Chicago. Marcus brought me in as senior partner. First year I earned more than any previous 2 years combined. Lauren finalized the divorce in May. She moved back to Tucson. Cassidy still texts occasionally. On my birthday in September, she sent, "You deserved better. I hope you know that." I kept that message. Robert Callahan sent a handwritten letter in August. 3 pages, careful cursive. He said he had watched me for 9 years and trusted the wrong son. He was ashamed of what happened at that reunion. He hoped I could find peace. I read it 4 times. I wrote him back. Our correspondence is quiet, but it continues. I do not carry anger. Anger is a weight, and I spent 9 years carrying weight that was not mine. What I carry now is clarity. I know what silence costs. I know what it means when someone tells you to apologize for telling the truth. They told me to leave or apologize. I left. And everything they were afraid I knew became everything that dismantled them. I simply stopped apologizing. That was enough.